It's official. We're starting school remotely. A couple of weeks ago, we weren't sure what was going to happen, but now most states have decided that the initial segment of the school year is going to happen online with remote learning. How many of you felt a pain in your heart when you learned the news? Now, none of us think that this is the ideal scenario, but to make the most of this experience, I want to share with you today 5 tips to help prepare you and your family to do the best with online learning. So the first thing is everybody needs a designated work area. And for your kids, for your teens, this means a designated study space. What do I mean by that? Most teens and kids during this last remote learning experience were working on their beds. They would pull up the laptop or the phone and just sit in their beds or lay in their beds and listen to the teacher or do whatever it was that they needed to do. That is not optimal learning experience. Now here's the little thing that we forget. Our brain takes clues from the entire body, from everything that we're doing, in order to determine what comes next and in order to figure out how it needs to operate. So if you're laying in bed, your brain is thinking it's rest time, it's fun time, it's not work time. So that's when you get unfocused. That's when you get tired faster. That's when things start slipping through the cracks and you don't process the information as well as you could. So the first thing you need to do as a family is figure out which space is going to belong to which person and how is that space going to be separated and designated as a working or studying space. Now the ideal here is to have a desk or a table, a flat surface where you can work. You want a space where you can have a balance between being comfortable but not being so comfortable that you're going to get drowsy and groggy and falling asleep. So definitely the bed is off limits. No studying on the bed whenever possible, unless it's an extreme scenario, which I can't think of any right now. But desk or table, yes. Once you have designated a desk or table, you want to find a place to sit where you can be comfortable, you won't be in pain, where you can sit for a lengthy amount of time, but that is not, again, so comfortable that you're just going to slip into just falling asleep in groggy mode. You want to make sure that wherever your designated area for studying is, you can eliminate distractions. That means you can close a door or a curtain. That means you can make sure that if you need silence, you can get it. That means that you actually can block off TVs and radios and all these other things that might be distractors so that you can focus on the work at hand. Make sure you have enough lighting to be able to read, but that the lighting doesn't disturb the device, right? Sometimes the reflection on the screen is really bothersome. And make sure that wherever you're working, you have access to all the materials you need. So writing utensils, paper, pencil, whatever it is that your kid needs, make sure that it's accessible to them in that workspace. Because here's what happens. We are masters at procrastinating, right? And we take any excuse to procrastinate. So if we start working and all of a sudden, ooh, I need a pencil, I don't have one. I go off to look for a pencil and before I know it, 15 minutes have passed and I've done nothing. So make sure that they have easy access to all the materials that they need right there and then. And make sure that each person knows where their designated study area is, and whenever possible, try to make a delineation or separation between one person's working space and another's. Now, as part of these tips, I am going to suggest several conversations. And the first one is a conversation about routines, about how the day is going to work. Have you ever stopped to think about what it is about being in a school environment that actually helps most kids do better than they do on their own? We tend to think that it's just this idea of having other people around, of modeling what everybody else is doing, of not having anything else to do because you're in school and what else are you going to do? But the truth of the matter is that the main ingredient, the main thing that helps most kids succeed is that they have a set routine in place. They have a schedule that they follow. They have within each classroom a set of routines. They know what to anticipate. Most teachers have a step-by-step structure on how their classes work, and the kids know what to anticipate. Those structures are essential for most kids to actually function and learn. So you need to try as much as possible to establish routines within the home that will be conducive to them learning and doing what they need to do. So the first thing is make sure you set a schedule. Whether your kid is in elementary school or high school, they need a schedule of what they're going to do when and in what order. And they need to make sure that they see and understand what comes next. Because otherwise, by the time they figure out, okay, I'm done with this, what am I supposed to do next? Half an hour has passed. They've wasted time, or they have become unfocused or disheartened. So if possible, have their schedule posted somewhere where they can see it. If not, make sure that at least they understand, okay, this is your schedule, this is what you're going to do. Whenever possible, schedule some breaks in there, because sitting in front of the screen for a prolonged period of time is not helpful for anybody. You know this. When you're at work and you have to be typing or doing something focused in front of the screen, after a certain amount of time, your eyes start glazing over and you just can't concentrate anymore. So make sure to schedule some breaks in there in the process so they can get up, breathe, go to the bathroom, take some water, whatever it is that they might need. The other thing as part of the routines is try to post a calendar somewhere. We tend to underestimate or overestimate the amount of time we have available for tasks. So if they can see it plainly in front of them, if they can see, okay, I have these many days, and in this period of time I have these other commitments that are going to eat up on my time, like maybe appointments or other commitments with church or with the community or with family, then they can really start to understand how much time they really have available for each of the assignments, and talk about what they're going to do first thing in the morning. Because the problem with a lot of teens in particular is that, okay, we're working from home, school starts at 7:30, so I can get up at 7:15, go to the bathroom, brush my hair a little, and sit in front of the computer, and I don't need any more time. They should prepare for school almost the same way that they prepare when they're going off to school. If your kid has a hard time concentrating, make sure that they change out of their pajamas or whatever they slept in and put on clothes that let them know that send a message to their brain, this is a separate activity. We are no longer just resting and hanging out at home, we are working. So try to help them understand that if they stay in their PJs, their body's going to say, okay, it's nap time, and it's going to be harder for them to get things done. And what's going to end up happening is that something that could have taken 2 minutes is going to take them 10. The third thing is set clear expectations. And we've talked about expectations before, but expectations are so important. Make sure you have a conversation about the goals your kid has for the year. Now, this is an unprecedented time, and we need to, in my opinion, shift the focus from how do we determine success? How do we decide that our kids are doing what they need to do? What are the goals that we're striving for? A lot of us tend to focus a lot on the letter grade. Are you getting A's? Are you getting B's? Are you getting C's? During this time, I think we need to shift that a little bit, because getting grades during this period in which we are learning remotely works a little bit differently than earning grades when you're at school. And it might not be a clear indicator of how well they're doing or what they're doing. So maybe your goal is you are not going to miss any assignments in the week's time. You're going to make sure that everything is turned in, or you are not going to turn anything in late during this period of time, or whatever. Just make sure that you establish some measurable goals with your kids that are going to let you and them know whether they are on the right path or not. But at the same time, be a little bit flexible. We are all learning how to manage this whole remote learning situation. And while the school systems are setting some things in place to help it advance and be better this time around, we all know that there are going to be tweaks that need to be made. We all know that we are still figuring a lot of these things out. Teachers, parents, and students all alike. So be prepared to be a little flexible. Have a conversation in which you and your kids anticipate the obstacles. We know that in anything that we try to do, there are usually obstacles. There are usually things that make it harder than we thought it would be. It takes longer, or it's more difficult, or it requires more materials, or whatever. There's always things that come up that make it harder for us to complete the task at hand. So have an honest conversation with your son or daughter and ask them, okay, what do you think might make it harder for you to do school online this time around? What do you anticipate might go wrong? What things do you think could make this challenging or harder than it needs to be? And as you have the conversation, don't question what they think their obstacles are. Just listen. Maybe even write them down. Do some brainstorming as to everything that could go wrong. And then do some brainstorming as to what we can do together to make those obstacles less stringent, to make them have a lower impact or not as much of an impact on the entire learning situation. So for example, if one of the things that your kid mentions is that, oh, I get easily distracted, okay, what can we do about it? Can we find a different study space where your distractors are not around? Can we set up some sort of space in which you can close a door and not have distractions from the outside? What can I remove? Can I take the dog outside? Can I take the TV to another space? What can we do to eliminate those distractions so that you can focus during your study time? And after you lay out and you brainstorm all the possible obstacles and all the possible solutions, assign it to someone. Okay, so I am going to be responsible for making sure that this happens, or that this doesn't happen in this way or that, and you are going to make sure that you do these things and set them in place. So far we have talked about the importance of designing a designated study space for everybody, about having a conversation where you set routines and schedules and where everybody knows what to expect from this time period. We've also talked about setting clear expectations for the remote learning time, and about having a conversation where we anticipate obstacles and how to handle them. For the last tip, I'm going to share with you in a minute. But before I do, I want to invite you to subscribe. Make sure you subscribe, hit the subscribe button. Also ring that bell to turn on notifications. I am on here at least twice a week, sharing some tips and some information and strategy on how to help you design a family that is set for success. So subscribe, and we'll move on to number 5. Finally, plan check-ins, regular check-ins during the remote learning time. And this is a practice that, if you do it well, might become part of the DNA of your family, where you have set check-in times. Now, why is it important to have planned check-in times? As parents, especially if we are working from home while they are doing their work remotely, or if we are in the house for whatever reason, our instinct is going to be to pop in and see what they're doing, to check in, maybe even listen through closed doors, make sure that they're doing what they need to do. But students need to start taking ownership of their learning process. This is really key. If you ever want your student to be more motivated to do things, they need to feel that learning is in their hands, it's in their control and in their best interest. So one of the things that you can do is give them the space, give them the chance to prove themselves, to prove to you and to them that they can do this, that they can get things done, that they can stay on task, that they can follow a schedule. And if you're constantly popping in, then that takes away that feeling that they can do it on their own. So plan check-ins. As part of your conversations where you're setting expectations and goals and all these things, tell them, okay, we need to make sure that we are checking in with each other consistently. How about if we talk about how school is going every other day? Or I want to let you know at the end of the first day, I want to know how it went. So let's plan on having a conversation about your day and the things that went well and the things that we could improve at the end of that first day, and then twice a week moving forward. Or something along those lines. But make sure that both you and your child feel like that is not too much or too little. They might need more. They might need less. But have a conversation about it and let them know to anticipate that you're going to check in, and then keep your end of the agreement. If you say, I'm going to check in at the end of the first day and then twice in the week, don't check in 10 times. Do it at the end of the first day and twice in that week. But don't forget to check in. make sure you're keeping your end of the agreement. Now, I want to share a little bonus with you on this one. The key to anything that you want to do with your kids, with your teens, is to help them see that you understand and that you're aware of how they feel, and also to express your sincere and total trust and confidence in their ability to do the things you expect from them to do. Online learning is no different. So as part of these conversations, make sure you empathize with them and you let them know, oh, this stinks. This is not the best scenario. I know this is tough. I know this is hard. I know this is not the way you probably wanted to do this. And I know that if I was in your situation, I would be frustrated. I would probably even be a little bit angry. And that's okay. But we are going to do this. And I have every confidence that you can succeed, whether it's remotely or in any other way. I know you can do this. We know online learning is not ideal. It is not what any of us wished for or wanted, but we can make the best of it. And I hope these 5 tips and the bonus 6 tip that I shared with you today will help you set yourself and your family up for success. I'm Marcia Amaro, and together we will design families that are set for success and that will change the world. See you in the next one.